Welcome back for another book talk, and happy magical Monday to you. Today I'm talking about a book called The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. And for those of you who think that I've been way too nice, way too happy, giving way too positive of reviews with way too many positive comments lately, I've got some good news for you. Today, it's not all gonna be positive. I have a lot of critical things to say about this good book, The Shadow of What Was Lost. This book is part one of a series, a trilogy. As of right now, I don't have any plans to read book 2 and 3, but certainly if you read this book, if you read the series, and you want to tell me something positive, trying to encourage me to read book 2 and 3, then put that down in the comments. Let me know. My experience with this book was, it feels like a book to me that would have been written in the 90s. You know, there were a lot of books that came out, a lot of those Forgotten Realms books, Dragonlance books, those sort of things, and I loved them. I loved reading them when I was growing up. But this does not feel like a book that was published in 2016. You know, the books that have been published the last 7 or 8 years, the last decade, in the fantasy genre, they feel, I want to say, more advanced than this book. And it's possible that James Islington was just developing his style with the first book. I've heard from my friend and colleague who actually demanded that I read this book, the books 2 and 3 are better, that the prose does really improve. But this book suffered from the fact that I had been reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson, and I'd read Patrick Rothfuss's books, and that level of prose was more advanced than what I got here from Islington. There are a lot of scenes in this book that have the same kind of descriptive stuff going on. People biting their lips, people putting their hands on their foreheads, people inclining their heads. And then the huge issue that I had with the book was the gaze in almost every scene. And before the LGBTQ plus community comes after me, I'm not saying G-A-Y-S. I'm saying G-A-Z-E. The word gaze, I swear, G-A-Z-E. Grab a copy of the book for yourself. Flip to any scene, and it feels like every single scene has a character whose eyes are following another character's eyes. But the author describes it the exact same way every time. G-A-Z-E. He followed her gaze. She followed his gaze. His gaze was following that gaze over there. It's just gaze, gaze, gaze everywhere. Every time. It's also, to me, just strange to be constantly commented upon in the books. So it ruined it for me. You know, I'm trying to take the story seriously. I'm trying to take the characters, their goals, the adventure seriously. And it would be another, his gaze followed her gaze. She inclined her head. You know, he put his hand on his forehead. She bit her lips. The exact same actions and descriptions over and over, which, granted, if the book was shorter, that also would not have been as big of an issue. Something else that's weird about my reading of this book that I have to admit to get out of the way is I started reading this book once and my bookmark fell out and I really couldn't remember where I was at in the book because often in the school year I get really busy. There's a lot going on. I'm reading other books at the same time, doing a lot with my life. And so I had to restart reading the book. And when I tried to restart reading the book, it was hard for me to get into it because I'd already been through the scenes once and I already wanted more out of the sophistication of the language. And so I ended up swapping to the audiobook. And then I had the very bizarre deja vu experience of listening to the audiobook and thinking, well, I probably haven't read this far in the book, but then predicting exactly what would happen in the next scene, which is because I really had read that far in the book and I just had forgotten. So my own fault in that sense that I had a weird experience with the book. But I've read a lot of reviews online. A lot of people agree with what I'm saying about the language. But still, I've heard the flip side. There are a lot of people on Booktube who love this book, not only because of the beautiful cover. And it does have a great cover. And I do like that for the trilogy, they just changed the coloring of the art. Sometimes something like that, really simple, is nice. It's a complete series if you're the kind of person who wants to read an entire series, entire trilogy, and know that you don't have to wait for another book to come out. So a lot of positives as well. If you like adventure stories, that's what you've got here. Interesting characters, a magic system that mostly makes sense, maybe up to a little bit of stuff messing with it at the end. Hope you enjoyed today's book talk. Check the book out for yourself. Feel free to debate me, argue with me down in the comments. I'm always happy for criticism myself. Every day is a good day for a book talk. Peace.